What about you folks, it's Lostarot and welcome to LST Plays. Today we're taking a look at a brand new game available on Steam, PS4, Xbox One called Redout. Redout is a zero-G racing game in the same stylings of F-Zero and Wipeout. Now it's been a long time since I played a game like this, primarily because I'm such a big fan of Wipeout. And I found that any games that do try to copy Wipeout's formula usually fall a bit short of the mark. Now I only discovered this game the other day and it was completely by accident. I watched a few videos and discovered that not only did the game look good, but a lot of people were singing its praises as well. Now, I'm very wary of just sticking money onto any games that come out of the blue, but in all honesty, I'll start this review just by saying that this may have been the best purchase of an unknown entity I've ever made. So, high praise off the bat, you should be well aware of. And it's primarily because I'm a massive fan of Wipeout, especially Wipeout HD on PS3, and I've been longing for a game like this for some time now. A well-crafted, stunning-looking zero-G game that gives me a really good sense of speed. If the bar is Wipeout HD, then this, in my opinion, meets, if not exceeds that level, and for a few good reasons, which I'd like to go through. The first one being, we'll start with the graphics. It's all built using the Unreal 4 engine, and it's absolutely gorgeous to look at. The art style is detailed, but not too detailed as to make your eyes sore when you're flying around the track at stupid speeds, or even to confuse you as to where you're actually supposed to be going. It's almost got this polygonal art style to it, mixed with subtle cyberpunk neon edges. You see these sort of polygons in the sky for sort of tones and almost like clouds in a way. It's really different and really nice to look at. The second one, number two, well, it's fast, obviously. It's really fast. If you're going to do a racing game like this, then it has to be, I mean, we're talking faster than Wipeout, bar the infinite mode in HD, as that was just eye-watering. But the main reason for this is the game doesn't just start you in 50cc mode like a Mario Kart or an F-Zero fashion. The starting class gives you the sense of speed from the off. I mean, once you start the game, you're in like 150cc mode on speed. It's so refreshing and awesome to see a game giving you the immediate feeling and sense of speed that most others only let you experience halfway through the game, all of which is in glorious, consistent 60 frames per second. The controls are tight, as you'd expect them to be, because they have to be when you're going that fast around a track. You see, games like Wipeout and F-Zero only work if the mechanism that keeps you in the game is actually good, and this is absolutely amazing. It's really good. Now, for you PC users out there, you do need a controller for this one. Don't even think about a keyboard and mouse. It's designed for the twin sticks of a controller specifically, and there's a few reasons why. Well, obviously, left stick moves you around the course. Right stick, however, pitches your nose, the ship's nose, up and down, as well as giving you a split-second strafe, similar to Wipeout's air brake for left and right using the shoulder buttons. Right trigger is go, and A on my Xbox controller is boost. So it's similar to Wipeout in a certain sense, and games of that nature. There are weapons, but they're not pickups, rather they're things that you equip before a race. So you get one weapon that has to be activated with X, such as an EMP blast or an autopilot mode, and one passive equipable item like a speed modifier. And the active weapon, I'll say as well, shares the same resource as your boost meter, so you have to sort of weigh up if you want to use a boost or a weapon at a specific time. And when you're racing against other opponents, that is like super key, because if you use a weapon at the wrong time, you're going to be completely out of boost or the ability to boost, and they could just be flying off if you miss, depending on what you've got. Now, just going back a little bit just to the responsiveness to play the game. It's easy to play the game, I'll say, just off the bat, but to master it requires using pitch specifically. So using the right stick, you almost have to lean or tilt back going into certain turns. This in itself is the reason actually for the name Redout, which means, courtesy of Wikipedia, thanks very much. A redout occurs when the body experiences a negative G-force sufficient to cause a blood flow from the lower parts of the body to the head. It is the inverse effect of a greyout, where blood flows away from the head to the lower parts of the body. Usually a redout will only ever be experienced by pilots, as planes are the most common devices that allow such negative G-forces to be exerted. Redouts are potentially dangerous and can cause retinal damage and hemorrhagic stroke, which sounds terrifying. The predominant theory on the red, apparently, though, is due to not the blood going to your eyes, which I sort of thought, but it's actually down to your lower eyelid coming into the visual field due to the pull of negative G's, which is like your eyelid moves due to the force exerted on your body, which is crazy. So what happens in the game is that as you come to say like a loop-de-loop, you need to pull the nose of the ship up, which will stop you from experiencing a grey out, and also grinding your ship's nose into the track, which will slow you down and obviously damage your ship. Redout avoidance is usually where like you crest a hill and the ship the nose lifts up as you're going over the hill, so you have to basically push forwards on the right thumbstick to force the nose down towards the track. All of these like greyouts and redouts are indicated by colours on the screen, so just as well to point out that the game didn't teach me about that. I didn't go on the Wikipedia before I played the game to find out exactly what a redout was or what it meant, but just experiencing the game and playing it for myself, I learned that if I pitch forwards, I'm going to stop the red effect on screen, and if I pitch back, I'm going to stop the grey effect on screen. Which is great that there's no hand holding in the game. It doesn't say, oh, by the way, there's no tutorial that says, hey, you need to push down or push up. It was just sort of by experimenting with the right thumbstick that I got that, and I learnt that I could get faster if I didn't smack the nose of my ship into the track. Which leads me on to my fourth point, difficulty. The game is Dark Souls levels of challenging, believe me, but it's another tick in its favour by my reckoning, which does have a downside, which I'll get to as well. But for now, we'll move on to like multiplayer, online multiplayer for 12 players. Yes, please. Which is, unfortunately, it's a bit of an issue at the moment, but it is there. It's not the game's fault, however. There's just not a lot of players online or actively playing the game at the moment, which is partly the reason for me wanting to do this video. I want to promote this game so that I can get an online race. I've only had I've had one complete race so far, which was against one other person, and the netcode, if you will, was perfect. So I definitely want to get online more with the game. And just to note as well about the online play is that you get experience and money both online and off, which you can spend on ships and unlocking ships and all that sort of glorious stuff. And lastly, just in terms of pros, the music, it's really energetic. It's the same vein as Wipeout, so it's sort of electronic dance, but with just a bit more sort of an ambient vibe. The developers did say that at some stage there may even be like a release of a soundtrack with a deluxe version in little brackets, which may indicate that further tracks and ships will be released at some stage, and I hope that is the case. So with all that gushing out of the way, there must be a few negatives surely. Well, there are, but they're very picky, so bear that in mind. And we'll start off with the difficulty. So yeah, I know I said it as a pro that the difficulty is great and that it's a challenge. But class 1, which you start off is fine. Just to explain it a little bit, it takes some getting used to, but when you do, it's a relative breeze. And you can get gold after like the first few races. You learn how to play the game, and then eventually you will get gold medals. Because initially I was like, my god, I can't get out of the silver bracket here at all. But eventually I did sort of learn about how to play the game smartly, as I say, with the pitches and stuff. But class 2 upwards is hard. I mean, like really hard. Now, Dark Souls is a game I mentioned for an example of difficulty, but I always consider Dark Souls to be very fair, primarily due to the pacing. So you can go as fast or slow as you want in that game. Obviously, this is in a different vein. This is a different style of game altogether. There's no option for that, which may deter some people from playing the game, as well as frustrating some of the player base. Now, I can't say fully that this is a massive issue, as I've yet to unlock every ship to try each of them out, but so far it's one of the few points that I've encountered a bit of an issue from in terms of progression through the game. And in the same vein as another pro point I had, online options, there's not a lot there, but in all seriousness, I just want to stress it is a very minor point. I think a server browser or a list of player games would have been nice to have, as at the moment you basically just have to wait for a game. It may have been even a great idea to have like a party system to play with, like your mates, and set up private games and things like that. But it is a minor thing, as I stress again. And that's it. It's just 2 slightly negative points. It's not bad at all. Redout is available now at a slightly discounted price, but the base value is a very reasonable £26.99 in pounds. And I urge you, if you're into this style of game and you know, you want to check it out yourself, see what you think. I think it's absolutely fantastic to see a zero-G racing game coming out in 2016 that is not, well, it's not Wipeout, it's just as good in my honest opinion as Wipeout HD on PS3, as I say. So thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed this review, be sure to leave me a like, or if you didn't, a thumbs down, and I'll see you in the next one.